According to the Maasai culture, there is no animal that is assigned to a girl, but a parent can choose to give their child an animal. Maybe because you are good at looking after the animals, you're given as a gift.
It is in the morning. In Mashuru village,
Up at your home?
Up until my parents' place.
we set out to the Maasai land with the quest of understanding the burden of being a Maasai woman.
No, na yo nadi endewe jororigi.
T-junction.
Oh, hela borara.
Tuna turn left, eh?
Yeah.
Aya, left 20 straight.
That's right.
So this is another edition, a new place, and we expect new experience. And in this case, where are we?
Kajiado County, Maasai land.
Maasai land.
Yes.
As you have known Maasai, you can't detach a Maasai from rearing of cattle. And this will be dining with interact with a few clans that have the custom and traditional attachment to the cattle. What do you expect?
So I want to learn a lot about the Maasai culture. First, I want to take blood with milk.
Huh?
Yes.
Surprised?
I know,
Surprise.
I didn't think of it, but it's coming.
Very horrible. I've seen the landscape.
It looks so nice.
Yeah, I think
Wow.
our destination is down the hill. As we are almost getting to the homestead to interact with the community,
Yes.
I'm told the respect here is paramount, whereby girls or women don't shake hands with the male in this land. What they do, they are given a blessing by tapping their forehead. You can imagine the experience,
Yes,
just
when
getting
you
the
see
sound
it.
of a hyena, probably down the bush.
But you see the Morans, funny thing about them is that they are trained because of their cattle. They value cattle so much that they protect them from any domestic or wild
You know, an
animal
interesting
that can
thing
come
about the
to
Maasai,
them.
they don't invest their money in the bank. They
No,
invest in
the cows.
livestock.
Meaning, the more you have cattle, the more wife you will get. Isn't that funny?
No, it's not funny. I still don't understand why women are still second class in the African society, despite us championing gender rule and all that. But still, I feel women, they have reserved specific place in African community.
I think it's because of they're still putting in the culture norms that they used to before. You see, in the olden days, women never used to do anything. They used to, their work was only to stay at home, cook for the husband, do everything for the husband.
But don't you think they were playing a bigger role in cultural conservation?
They
Because
did.
90% of the life of a child revolves around the mother.
The mother, yes.
So what the mother does and teaches them is what
Yes.
they grow up believing in.
This is a journey of personal discovery.
Culturally, when a Maasai girls wake up, the first thing she does is come through here. Milk. That is the first chore that they do. Milking is the first chore because they need milk to make breakfast, to make tea. Growing up, I remember waking up at 5:30 with my siblings, and the first thing that I did with my sisters was to milk cows. We had a lot of cows at that time, and we went to school just nearby home here, and we would milk the cows and finish by 6:30, then get home, prepare, and go to school. And after school, you come back home, you change, you eat, and you go out again to look after the goats or the cows, and the routine is the same in the evening as in the morning. So we milk the cows as well in the evening, and put the calves in their little boma, and then call it a day.
Keruisha?
Ati napika teke.
She refused to be defined by the customs and traditions that govern her motherland.
I grew up in the 80s when the Maasai had not fully embraced education, and especially for the girl child. By the time I was going to high school, looking back, none of the girls my age graduated from primary school. That pained. That was really a pain, including my own cousins, my first cousins. And so now we are talking 40 years plus, we still have the same problem of teenage pregnancies. So we are losing generations. It's 4 generations now. It's a cycle that has not ended and seems not to end unless something is done. For me, I never worried about me being sold for cows, because my father made it very clear that education is key. My mother made it clear that education is key.
Semerian Sankuri says it is tough being a Maasai woman in the eyes of deaf men who view them in the lenses of cultural oppression.
I grew up seeing men blame their wives for the fault of their daughters. And not just blame, they would beat them. They would really beat them up. Domestic violence is one thing that was rampant in this community. And it still is. Not as much as it used to be, but it still is. That a woman is blamed for every other wrong that happens in a homestead. May it be a girl getting pregnant, may it be livestock getting lost, may it be anything. She'll be blamed for it.
A Maasai woman's diary involves rising early every morning to milk cows, walking hundreds of miles in search of water for animals and domestic use, and if she is lucky, she will have a donkey to share her burden, as well as look after children.
We do the normal house chores of cooking, helping our mothers with cleaning, looking after the children. And basically, a young Maasai girl chores are very similar to that of their mother.
As the Igbo people say, he that beats the drums for the madman to dance is no better than madman himself. Their cry for equity and justice in this land is like beating drums for a deaf man.
The cultural issues affecting girls in Maasai land, very similar to all pastoralist communities, is the issue of teenage pregnancies, FGM, which we are trying to eliminate. It's still being practiced, and also early marriages.
As one of the nomadic communities, the Maasais refer to themselves as people of the cattle. Their nomadic lifestyle is predominantly dependent on cattle rearing.
The Maasais are already livestock farmers, so the women have that natural ability to take care of the goats. That is what they are using a lot now. You find a lot of women are milking goats,
which is associated with the social status or power, rights, and concept of what to do and what not to do. In this land, affluence is measured in terms of the number of animals one possesses, and in this case, girls are seen as the potential assets.
Maasais culturally actually booked wives when the girls were still young. Some of them actually used to book even when the woman is pregnant. They would say, if that is a girl, my son will marry her. And that was respected, and that was okay. So some families now, even in this century, some men still do that. The more girls you have as a father, the more wealth for you.
Semerian has lived here all her life, and she says in this land women assume a second-class status when it comes to community governance and decision making.
In the 80s, I remember very well that it was normal for Morans to come into a homestead and go to that house where girls are. And parents would, or mother would know that that is happening, but the culture dictates that you do not stop that. They actually look down on you if they hear that you're trying to there's a word that they say, alum, if you do that, if you try to stop boys seeing your girls.
Subdued by customs, they are compelled to bow down to the traditions without questioning, however harmful they are.
I grew up in that environment of seeing girls being married off. Actually seeing my own first cousins being married off.
A Maasai woman will never be allowed to divorce except in the most egregious cases of physical abuse, and will never be allowed to marry again, even if the husband her father chooses is an old man who dies when she is still in her teens. Instead, she becomes the property of one of her husband's brothers. She will be one of the multiple wives.
When your husband passes on, traditionally, you're taken care of. There is either a brother-in-law, or if you have an older son, he takes over. So he becomes the head. He has a right to do whatever he wants to do with the livestock. He will inform you, some will inform you, and some would just take over and make sure that you're comfortable, you have food, but they are now like your husband.
Growing up in an oppressive regime, Semerian has witnessed close cousins pay heavily for the sins that were not theirs.
I cried several times seeing especially my young cousins being married off. I would go to boarding school and come back home during the holiday, and the ones that I had left that were in school here have been married off. That broke my heart. These were young girls who are younger than me that were already married off.
The painful act of female genital mutilation and early marriages has denied many of the Maasai girls the constitutional right to education.
Maasai girls are seen as cash cows.
For 11 years, Semerian has been fighting to redeem the voices of the Maasai women, a war that has created rough confrontations with her antagonists.
The reason why I'm doing what I'm doing is because it has affected me personally. It's only my father who has children or girls who have completed an education. None of his brothers has. That pains me, because then this is a baggage that I will carry for the rest of my life.
According to the Maasai customary laws, women have no right of ownership. All rights of who or what to inherit are reserved for males.
Actually, the only person who has ownership is the head of the family, which is the father, the male figure. So it's yours by name. It can be sold and you cannot question why. So as a wife, when you get married, you are assigned certain number of animals. So those are yours by name, but managed by the husband. So it's your duty to milk. So the milk is yours. But when it comes to selling or benefiting in any other way apart from the dairy aspect of it, it's purely your husband. I had a few goats when I was growing up. But I mean, they are just mine by name, really. They can be sold anytime when they want, and I don't know what they do with the money.
Sandwiched in the shrubs of the jungle, Kunchu Primary is a masterpiece of peace and hope for Maasai girls longing to quench their thirst for white man's knowledge.
But in IOSIM, main objective is to amplify the voices of women and girls in rural Kajiado, the Ma community. Our job is to make sure that we have each and every girl in school, retain them in school, and support them to successfully finish their education. We give support in reproductive health through menstrual hygiene education. We realize that a lot of our girls get pregnant before they even understand themselves. So, have brought women in, their mothers, to educate them on the need of making sure that their children have this very important item, which is a sanitary towel. And it's just not addressing education, we are also addressing their health.
But what lies behind the concrete walls is the burden of pain that only those strong enough like Betty Semeyan can bear. Oppressive culture that is killing dreams of many Maasai girls.
If a girl, for example, delivers when she's in class 7, the possibility of that girl coming back to school is very minimal. That means she'll be married when she's 15, 14. Then if she's married at 14, that is still a child. She's not really a woman. So that means by some years to come, the problems that her mother went through, it is the same problem that this baby girl is going to go through. Then it means we are going to be left behind as the Maasais. And our girls are not going to get the opportunities that the world is giving.
Semeyan seems to be the only hope for the girls in this land who are battling a war that even their grandparents lost long ago, disembarking the bad wagon of retrogressive culture.
And I expect you all to go to high school. Sindio? I expect you all to go to high school. Alone. Not you plus something. You alone. So, from Hunju. Kwa hivyo, so many. You get 350, my organization will sponsor her to high school of her choice.
Which one of the following is not a component of a model prayer?
All these are candidates preparing for the final examination that will mark their 8 years journey in primary. With no library, no electricity, and less teachers, it is only a miracle in waiting for one to excel.
Some of the schools that these children go to, they don't have enough teachers. So you find a school that has up to class 8 has about 5 teachers. So there's also that issue.
Bright pupils like Miriam Sopiato holds an unseen bright future that might be shattered when the law of the land catches up with her.
These children, one of the problems that they have actually highlighted is that they have problems with lighting at home studying. So this lamp are going to allow them to now study. So everyone, now you have a lamp, you cannot say you cannot study at home.
FGM, teen pregnancy, and the early marriages are profounding at all corners of this kingdom.
But any moment we take our children through FGM, then there is an issue whereby the girl child thinks, because that I say that thinks, that she's really a grown-up woman now. And that is where we come to the early pregnancies and they drop out of school. Almost every year, we lose a girl either in class 7 or class 8. So that means we are losing a generation.
There is need to change the mindset of the community. That is what we need to do as advocates, to educate the parents to support their children.
As nightfall descends, the sounds of the jungle and that of the rusty bell mark day end. But Miriam Sopiato has a long way to go, walking 10 kilometers back home through the jungle endowed with fierce wild animals.
Hebu fikiria mtoto ambaye anafika hapa amechoka na ni maeneo ambayo anapitana na wanyama kama ndovu, saa zingine simba kule njiani wakirudi katika maeneo yao ambao wanalala. Huyo mtoto akifika hapa unapata kwamba kuna changamoto pale darasani. Ni kusikiza mwalimu ama ni kusikiza uchofu?
Today, she is lucky. A free ride home courtesy of Semeyan.
Maswali nagira ikilikwan nadol ajo enkerai ng'en oleng najo naa paitabawang paalotu siiyie airorie enaa ng'otonye.
It is not over yet. Domestic chores awaits her. The time she should be spending revising for the exams, it is now consumed with the family daily domestic chores. So Piato still believes her dreams are still valid.
Or the community lacks support for these girls. And you find that it's easier sometimes to get pregnant and just be married off, because then I might get a home like this one than toil for years and years going to school and at the end you don't get anything. We embraced education very late. So you find a lot of our parents in the community really do not value education that much. Yes, we say now we are better off because we have girls in school, but after class, what support are these children getting at home?
The burden of parenting and motherhood is too heavy for the Maasai women to carry alone.
For the last 2 years, we've seen school retention really improve in this area of Kinyewa in terms of school absenteeism. And also, teenage pregnancy had improved until COVID. We seem to have gone back during this season of COVID. So we had taken steps forward, but COVID has taken us back.
Indeed, justice delayed is justice denied. Semerian Sankuri has taken up the responsibility of brightening the dimmed light of the Maasai girls.
We have 2 girls in high school who are under Patina Yosef scholarship program from very remote areas, done very well in class 8 and gotten good schools, and we've put them in a scholarship because they came from not well-off backgrounds.
Semerian has been shouldering the heavy burden of her fellow women. Once forgotten, now they can afford a sigh of relief.
According to the Maasai customs, women are custodians of livestock. They do not own, they have no right to sell. So by gifting women these goats, I'm empowering them, or we are empowering them to have ownership and own something that it's theirs to take care and also gain economically from it.
Semerian has one goal, that the government of the day to formulate policies to protect these feeble women and girls against oppressive traditions and customs that have enslaved Maasai women for many years.
Let's stop these vices. Let's support our children, girls and boys. Let us embrace education, because it is very possible. If each and every homestead has one graduate girl, there'll be a change in that homestead.
Siangigi wewe hapa namaliza kukamua.
Bado lakini iko karibu. Ife.
Maziwa yametoka kiasi gani?
Maziwa iko mingi.
Wanatupea hasara. Mozende inakunywa ya kwanza.
Is that what happens in their culture?
Yes.
No, I don't.
Men are the head of the family. So I should take a sip first. If you
But I
take.
was the one doing the milking.
Siangigi sikia, wewe umevunja sheria. So have you asked the name of that method?
Yes. It's called Nkukuri. It's used for milking And you can also store milk in this gourd.
And the next episode, we are still camping here in the Maasai land, giving you more details on the transformative structures of the Maasai culture and how some cultures will never change, no matter how many centuries to come. For Culture Quest, I'm your host, Levis Msumba, and my co-host here is
Faith Jepkemoi.
Bye-bye till next time.
See you. With the